George Crump with Verge-io, Chief Marketing Officer. Prior to joining Verge, I was founder and lead analyst at a storage analyst firm called Storage Switzerland. Did that for about 15 years, covered a lot of different technology in the infrastructure space. Joining me is Jason Yeager. Jason, why don't you give the folks a little background on yourself, what you do for Verge, and what you did prior?
Sure. I'm Jason Yeager, the SVP of Engineering at Verge. Prior to Verge, I had a couple of startups in cloud software security, as well as before that, I spent about 10 years in secure compliant cloud computing at a managed service provider. So lots of experience in the cloud space and with infrastructure along the years.
So if you have any, as a bonus, if you have any deep security questions, Jason's your man. All right, so just some quick background on Verge for those that might not know that are joining us here. We are clearly, obviously, maybe we are a VMware alternative. We think we're the alternative. The primary thing that we did different versus VMware, and really, I think if you look at it, I'm going to say most just to be safe, but I think all the other alternatives are out there. Everybody builds this IT stack of software, right? They have the hypervisor, then they have a GUI. Frankly, most of the IP for most of our competitors is in the GUI. They're using a lot of open source stuff to get there. We've done a lot of our own IP in this product, and the big difference, though, it's all integrated. So the storage, the hypervisor, the networking capabilities, all of that is integrated into a single piece of code. So when you install our product, you're basically installing one thing, not 5 things, which kind of brings us to VMware migration. We have this propensity to do things in a single piece of code. So how do you get there without adding this add-on module or doing something crazy? Well, what we did is we essentially adopted or supported the VMware backup API set and fully exploit that. And you're going to see some examples of how that works. Before Jason jumps in, just as a kind of the level set, there's 2 phases to our import process, or to our migration process, I should say. The first is we refer to it as backups because that's fundamentally what we're doing, right? We're using that backup API set to transfer the data over to us. We're so compatible with that API set, you could even do change block tracking to keep the VMs that you're migrating up to date before you migrate them. That all of this leads to reduced cutover time. And then the second phase, which is what we're going to show you today, is the actual conversion. And we do that conversion incredibly fast. Jason, before you share your screen, any color you would add to that description?
I'd probably just jump into it because I'll give a little context as we go along.
Let's do it. While he's getting his screen up, let me also remind everybody there is we have Q&A here. So just if you have questions, we're going to keep an eye on that throughout. If we can answer it live, we will. Otherwise, we'll take all the questions at the end. So go ahead and feed those in as you see fit. Jason, take it away.
All right. So what you see here is we're at the home page of this particular Verge system. And for the for simplicity's sake, we have a single node Verge system. But it doesn't matter how many nodes you have, you're still going to manage it from the same IP address interface, UI, API, or CLI. And if you see here, we have 3 machines running. I have 2 virtual machines running right now. And I also have a VMware service running. And as George mentioned, natively within our piece of software, we connect directly to VMware's API, either vCenter or vSphere infrastructure. We have this particular system directly connected to our vCenter instance that we use for testing and demo's sake. And I'll actually show you our VMware environment in our next test. But if you see here in Verge, you just create a service, you give us a host, you give us a username and password. We pull in we inventory everything that's running in the VMware environment, either on the vSphere host or attached to the vCenter server. Those, you can create replication schedules to replicate that data over to Verge. And those replication schedules turn into jobs. And I already have jobs prepared and replicated over for the purposes of our demos today. So I have, to show 100 virtual machines and how we would import that, I have this job here. We have 100 virtual machines running in our VMware environment, and they're in this backup job here. You'll see all the virtual machines that are in this backup job are listed right here. So to import those VMs into Verge from the backup job, I'm going to click import here, and you'll see every single one of those virtual machines is selected. So I'm going to go ahead and import these virtual machines into the Verge hypervisor now so that we can start them up. Okay, I'm going to expand this list so that we can just scroll through this and see how fast this actually happens. Oh, just a few more left here, it looks like, out of the 100. Okay, all the virtual machines from this backup job are now in the Verge hypervisor. I'm going to navigate back to the home screen. You'll see now I have 103 virtual machines here, with all of those virtual machines now in the hypervisor and ready to boot.
So Jason, let's go ahead and do that. Let's go ahead and boot all 100 VMs and see what happens.
Good. All right. Now all 100 of those are booted. Let me just log into one here. Not quite ready to log into yet, but if we give it another second, I'm sure it will. And we see what's already received an IP address. So we're just booting into that. Oh, there we go. All right.
I was going to say the big question is, do you remember the password?
I do. And it already, and booted, deployed into an internal network, having access to the internet.
Awesome. Well, and you're a security guy, so I bet you have the password on a Post-it note on your monitor, right?
Well, no, I don't. I remember this one, but
okay. So I think that's sort of the big thing. Number one, it's very easy to do. It's very fast, obviously, and it allows you to do things that you just normally wouldn't be able to do in an environment. You know, Jason, a question's already come in about our capabilities from a professional services standpoint. Could we walk a customer through this and talk a little bit about? So I obviously answer that's yes, but you know, we've seen customers sort of, we show them how to do it a couple times, they take over, right?
oh yeah, I mean, we make managing the infrastructure as well as the processes and the functionality we support very easy to do. We do have professional services. We find that, you know, once we've walked somebody through doing this once, maybe twice, the process is very simple to understand and to do many times over at whatever scale and pace the customer wants. So yeah, we do have professional services that can help. Most of our customers, once we teach them how to fish, are very proficient at it.
Nice. Okay. So let's talk about why this matters. So I guess, you know, it's kind of cool that we can do it this fast. I think number one, if you're a customer that has a couple thousand VMs, and you know the few sessions that I've seen other vendors do, typically it takes 2 or 3 minutes on a per VM basis. So you could do the math on what that would take you. Obviously, we just showed you doing 100 in a few seconds here. What about what about from a, you know, this capability that helps is also, I think it allows you to get to the testing phase faster, and if something goes wrong in the testing phase, to refresh those tests faster, right? So you're not, I mean, imagine you do a test, something goes wrong, you want to reload and retest, and if every time it takes you, even if it takes you 30 minutes, and you want to do this 4 or 5 times, it gets annoying, right? So that becomes one of the big challenges. Jason, thank you for getting those questions answered while I go through this. Um, I think the other big thing is it minimizes downtime. With the process that we showed you, you could set these up once you're ready. You could set these up to back up your entire VMware environment, more or less continuously. Probably maybe every hour do a change block track backup, and you wouldn't have any real issues there. And then do your testing, test, make sure it all works. Then when you're ready to go production on us, you just do a final sync and boot, right? And so essentially your cutover time, if you will, is the time it takes to boot that VM under us one final time while you're shutting the VM down over on VMware. Now, what we've seen with this capability is so powerful that a lot of our customers will start actually using us as, if you will, almost a DR solution, right? So even while you're in the testing phase, this can have some value because if you're doing a backup to us every hour of your entire VMware environment and something goes wrong in that environment, guess what? You could just fire it up on us. And in some ways, you could say it's actually a better DR solution because it's fully self-contained and ready to go. I think the final thing in this area is the speed enables that that recovery. It enables you to support. We make a claim that we run on your existing hardware, right? The problem with that is you've got to have some hardware. And so if you only have a little bit of extra hardware, even if you have no extra hardware, it allows us to do this, shuffle VMs around, migrate, shuffle some more VMs, migrate much, much faster. And so it makes it very practical for you not to have to go out and buy additional servers and things like that. So there's a lot of power in this capability. So the next thing we're going to show you is, I think another question that comes up a lot in migration is, okay, I've migrated it. What else do I need to do once it's on the other side? And so what we're going to do here to kind of demonstrate how that part would work is we're going to have Jason, when you get a chance, if you want to flip over to your VMware environment, and we're going to show two VMs essentially cross-pinging each other, meaning they're on the same network, right? And then we're going to migrate those VMs, and without doing any changes, we're going to show you that ping would still work, right? To us, anyways, that's the simplest way to show you that there's very little, if any, post migration configuration work that you have to do. So, Jason, are you ready to take it?
Yeah. So as I mentioned in the first demo, here are all those virtual machines that are in our VMware environment that we're using for this demo. I do have a couple of running to show this test, and I already have them open here. And you'll see both of these machines are in the same network. This particular Win1 machine has an IP, is in the 10.14 network with an IP address of 121. This Win2 machine has an IP address of 122. And obviously these machines will be able to ping each other in this network. As you can see here, I have these particular machines in a replication schedule as well. They are in a backup job here. So this was the first one we did, the 100 virtual machines. This is that second replication job. I'm going to now import these two virtual machines and start them up into the Verge environment. Just navigate back over here to virtual machines. I'm going to power these on. And we'll give them a second to power on here. They take a second to reboot. All right. Just answering some questions there while we're waiting for these to boot up. So this machine should be up and ready for me to log in now. All right. You'll see this is up and in the 1014 network with an IP address of 103, ending in 103. I'm going to navigate back to Win2. Log into this machine. And you can see they can still communicate with each other in the Verge environment. All right.
So I saw one of the questions and you answered it already, Jason, come in about how much hardware is required. I don't want you to think we're that you need 96 cores to do this. I'm going to put in the resources section here in a second once I get done talking. Similar test we did where it was just 10 VMs, but it was on. Gonna have to help me how old Aaron's hardware is. I want to say it's 5-year-old servers, maybe 6-year-old servers, and he was able to boot 10 VMs in about the same amount of time. So it is not 100%. I mean, obviously, faster hardware I'm sure does help, but it's not totally dependent on that. So I will put that in right now, and you'll get a chance to don't watch it now because we got some more cool demos coming. But there's that as well. So that again, that shows you post configuration. Not a lot you got to do, right? You're ready to pretty much go and get after it with this product. Is really pretty powerful. The last thing we want to show you is the other thing I want to mention on this is, not only do you kind of migrate and go with this, but also it really eliminates potential errors, right? I mean, when you have to go back and reconfigure things and all this kind of stuff, that every time you have to do that, of course, there's a chance for something going wrong, right? So it makes it much cleaner. So the last thing we want to show you is testing this at scale, right? How do you, because, we'd love you to convert 1,000 VMs over to Verge and just keep on going, but you're probably going to want to test it a little bit first. And so there's a couple ways that we can do this. What we're going to show you is we're going to show you our snapshot technology, which is a little different than most snapshot technology. It leverages the fact that we have an innately built into the product deduplication. So it's almost more of a clone than it is a snapshot, but there's no capacity impact. That allows for greater scalability, greater flexibility. We're also going to leverage our multi-tenancy, or what we also call virtual data centers, to essentially create a virtual lab. All right. And so Jason's, I think, actually already done that, but he'll show you what he's done. And then we're going to take that snapshot and share it. And then because he knows it's secure, and remember Jason's background as a security guy, he's going to be brave and actually share it with me. And then I'm actually going to spin it up in my environment, right? So we'll see all of that happen, and we'll walk you through it. So Jason, if you're ready, take it away.
Sure. So as George mentioned, we do support multi-tenancy. We've deployed a single tenant in this Verge system named George. And so what I'm going to do here today is I'm going to show you right now for this demo, show you the power of our snapshots. So we have 4 machines running right now in this environment. I'm going to navigate to our snapshots that are natively built into the platform. We already have some snapshots here, but I want to create a new one that I'm going to specifically share with George's tenant so that he can do any of the testing he wants in the environment, and we can just destroy that tenant after he's done if we want to. So I'm going to create a new snapshot shared with George tenant. I'm going to uncheck this, and then I'm going to explicitly share it with him. And after I do, so you'll see here, that snapshot is already created. It's done. It's ready for me to share with George. George, you want to take over the screen share?
Yep. Now all the pressure comes on me. Let's see. Here. All right, so here's my tenant. I'm pretty sure Jason hasn't given me a lot of permission to do much, but I can recover this. But with inside my tenant, I can pretty much do anything, including harm myself, and it won't mess up anything in Jason's environment. So if I was feeling particularly crazy and wanted to infect myself with ransomware, all the other stuff that Jason's doing would not be impacted by that because it's all, if you will, firewalled off. So I'm going to go into here and I'm going to try to remember what I'm supposed to do next, Jason.
Go to snapshots, cloud snapshots.
That's it. And then refresh.
Refresh. You will now see one that's shared with you. I named it shared. View VMs.
It takes a couple seconds for the VMs to come up from within the snapshot. Jason taking advantage of that time to answer all, man, lots of great questions. I'm jealous that you got to the questions first. All right, so here's all the snapshots within the VM, and I can restore any one of these into my instance. Should I just do the Linux VM, Jason?
Any one of them, it's fine. We're just showing that you can recover it. Do you need to log into it?
I'll select there, and I'll hit recover.
Yep.
And hit submit. And you see it's importing the VM. It'll also go pretty fast from that perspective as well. And so once that's ready, I can go in and do whatever I need to do. So it's done importing at this point, and I can come here and power it on. And at that point, it's basically booting. I can go to the console and watch the boot process if I want to. And we are off to the races. So that's how that part works. So very straightforward. And again, I could restore all of those VMs if they needed to kind of talk to each other or do whatever I needed to do. I could do something wrong and I could tell Jason, hey, I want to just recover that again. I could go back to that snapshot and start over. It gives a lot of flexibility in how you would use this. So think about this from a testing standpoint, being able to, let's say you had 4 different applications, 4 different people in charge of those applications. You could, for testing purposes, you could set up 4 different virtual data centers. And in this use case, I think of virtual data centers or tenants almost as virtual labs. And so they can go in and do whatever they need to do, test it, try to break it, all that kind of stuff, make sure they're compatible and everything's fine. And so, or let's say you had 5 guys within a group and you wanted to have all 5 of them testing the same application at the same time. Well, you could do the same thing, make 5 different tenants for each one of the people, put that in there, and they could each test individually to see if you can run that without any problem. So that's what we wanted to do today, is just give you sort of a quick overview. I think we would be remiss if we didn't talk a little bit anyways about sort of, okay, we did all this. What are the benefits of VergeOS post-migration? We've got a lot of content on our website about that, but just real quickly, number one, significantly lower cost. I think the big news here is that really there's 2 points. Number one, we license by the physical server, not by the number of cores or processors or amount of storage or any of that. So whatever box you have, all we need to know is how much sheet metal you have, basically, and that's the number of licenses you'll get. That does mean in the future, if you go out and buy bigger hardware, you will be able to take advantage of that, right? So all of that's there for you. The second part of that lower cost is the fact that there's a very high probability that we will run on your existing hardware, right? If you're running VMware ESXi, especially one of the newer versions, the chances are very high, I think, that you would be able to run on that existing hardware. Jason, I know you're busy typing there, but just can you give us like you deal with this every day? If a customer needs to kind of I think most of the time it's not that we can't run on the hardware. They might need to change one aspect of the hardware, maybe add an SSD or stuff like that. What are the things you run into that customers need to fine tune with their existing hardware?
Usually typically just disk. We want to see we manage the resiliency of the data on our vSAN. And so we want all of the disks to be presented in, we prefer HBA adapters, but we can obviously use RAID controllers in HBA or pass-through mode. But it's typically just disk that we need to reconfigure in existing nodes. CPU and memory, really, we're pretty flexible when it comes to those specifications, as well as the age of those CPUs as well. We're pretty flexible there.
Great. Now, the other thing is, I think you'll get is better resiliency. As Jason mentioned, we manage all of our own data protection. We've got, again, some more videos on that. We've got this very interesting capability that IO Guardian, or the backup and repair server, which really takes care of, if multiple things go wrong in your environment simultaneously, 3, 4, 5 drives fail simultaneously, 2 or 3 servers fail simultaneously. The IO Guardian backup repair server can get you through those situations and do so automatically. So a lot of capabilities there. Very scalable. We can have nodes of different types. So we can have nodes that are mostly storage, nodes that are mostly compute, or nodes that are balanced. So a lot of flexibility there. They can be from different vendors. They can be from different generations of CPUs. All of those different things are supported. I always tell people that, we specialize in ugly clusters. None of the bezels have to match. None of the brands have to match. It's all good. So we just make it so whatever you're going to have to purchase next, you can come into the environment and fully be supported. And your older stuff, you just, as long as it's useful, keep running it. And then finally, better performance. I think that what we see pretty consistently is a 25 to 30% improvement in CPU performance. Depends how much of that you'll see, depends a lot on your applications. You should be able to stack more VMs per host in most cases. And then in storage performance, again, pretty consistently about a 25 to 30% improvement in performance. We're not going to spend any time really talking about our vSAN technology, VergeOS, but there's, again, plenty of content on the website and things like that dives deep into its capabilities as well. So, Jason, we hit the famous 30-minute mark. Thank you for joining us. And again, if you have any questions or anything, just contact us either through the links that we put in there or through the website. Have a great day.